Hey, it's Barb from Wonderful Works. Today we're going to be talking all about muscular dystrophy and find out what families want the church to know. So glad you're here today. Hey, what's wrong? You feel like people in your church mean well, but they don't really understand your son's muscular dystrophy? Well, what would you like the church to know? When it comes to churches, one thing most have in common is they want to support families, including those who have children with disabilities like muscular dystrophy. But when churches offer support without understanding what families really need, well, that isn't very supportive at all. That's why we've asked families whose children have muscular dystrophy, what do you want the church to know? The first thing that families want the church to know is that learning more about muscular dystrophy helps. The muscular dystrophies are a group of diseases that cause weakness and degeneration of skeletal muscles. There are more than 30 types. And within each of these types, there are further variations, which means muscular dystrophy is complex and each person's experience is a little different. There are 9 types that are pretty common. And while each of these types affect the muscles, there are vast differences between them too. This means that muscular dystrophy will affect people in different ways depending on the type they have. For some, the muscle weakening may come later in life and have mild symptoms, while others will be diagnosed in childhood, have a quicker progression and a shortened lifespan. And there's many experiences in between. But one thing that all types have in common is this: no one did anything to cause it. Muscular dystrophy is a genetic disease, which means that it's present at birth. It often runs in families, sometimes showing up in multiple children or in generation after generation. About a third of the time, a person will not have a family history and will be the first in their family to have it. The most common type to affect children is Duchenne. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is found primarily in boys and occurs in 1 in 3,500 live male births. It causes progressive muscle weakness and damage throughout the body, becoming more severe over time. Most children are diagnosed between ages 3 and 5 when muscle weakness begins to affect walking and other activities. Wheelchair use often starts around ages 10 to 12 but can vary. And currently, the average life expectancy is between ages 20 and 30. Females rarely have Duchenne, but they can carry the gene and potentially pass it down. There's no cure for Duchenne, but there are many promising medical trials underway. Now, that might feel like a lot to learn about muscular dystrophy all at once, but there's one more thing that families want the church to know. Muscular dystrophy is only part of their child's life. What's even more important about their child is his likes and dislikes, passions and gifts, intellect and sense of humor. What makes him laugh, what makes him mad, what makes him shine, what makes him him. Because while learning about muscular dystrophy matters, learning about their child as a whole person matters even more. The next thing that families want the church to understand is this: having a child with a progressive disease like Duchenne muscular dystrophy is hard, and sometimes all the feelings that come with it are hard too. Let's stop here for just a moment, and in the spirit of keeping it real, let's be real about something at church. Sometimes people in church aren't real good about letting people grieve when they need to, or express tough feelings, or talk about doubt and fear. Sometimes people in the church try to fix complicated feelings by reciting a quick Bible verse or giving platitudes like, "Just have faith." But if we're being real, these aren't real helpful. In fact, sometimes they're real hurtful because families who are dealing with some really hard, complicated things end up feeling dismissed. Sometimes they may even smile through their grief so that the people that they're with can feel better. But if a church really wants to support families, then the most important thing they can do is give them a safe place to be real, even when their feelings are messy. Because sometimes the most loving thing we can do for someone else is to allow them time to feel bad without trying to fix it. Just be present and listen. And when life gets hard again, be present and listen again. Understand that grief is a normal part of every special needs family's journey. And while the grief journey isn't an easy one, it's always better when it's not walked alone. The third way that churches can support families is by making sure they stay connected. The truth is, getting to church on Sunday mornings or making it to evening events isn't easy. Sometimes this is because getting their loved one prepared to leave the house just takes way longer, sometimes hours longer. Or maybe their child has respiratory issues from weak lung muscles and being around a lot of germs is too risky. Or sometimes maybe a church event just isn't that wheelchair friendly. There are many reasons why being present at church may be more challenging, but that doesn't mean that having a church family is any less important. In fact, oftentimes, it's even more important because church families are a great source of emotional, spiritual, and practical support that every family needs, especially those dealing with caring for a child with a disability. So if you have a family in your church who has a loved one with muscular dystrophy or another chronic life-altering medical issue and you don't see them around at church, reach out. See if there are any ways that the church family can come to them or meet their needs in a different way. Because a church is not a building, it's a family, and families stay connected. The last thing the families want the church to know is that inclusion and tangible support matters too. In fact, these are so important that we're not going to try to squeeze them into this video. Instead, check back soon and watch more from our Wonderful Works Physical Disability in the Church series, coming in April and May 2023. Well, I don't know about you, but I learned a lot about how the church can support families whose children have muscular dystrophy. But there's one more thing before you go. As we learned today, the very best way to understand what a family needs is to ask them, and this includes prayer. When learning more about the families you serve, don't forget to ask this: how can I pray for you? Thanks for joining us. See you next time.